Alright, so if you're new here, my name is John. This is my 2018 Cayman S. I've had this car for about 4 years now, and in that time I've driven it a ton, modified it heavily, and honestly just lived with it day to day. I feel like most reviews you're going to see are like first impressions, so this is a little different. This is actually what it's like to live with the car long term and actually what it's like to own the vehicle. So I just wanted to bring you guys along for a quick little review. So I first bought this car when I was 19 years old. I was coming from a 2018 Q50 Red Sport, which I kept and I had at the same time as this car, but this was the first real like sports car I've ever driven or was ever in for that matter. I actually never test drove the car because I didn't know how to drive stick. This is a 6-speed manual. I had no idea how to drive stick, so I had someone who worked at the dealership drive me around in the car so I can get a feel for it, and I had them deliver it to my house. It was absolutely insane at 19 years old being in a car like this and driving a car like this. It was the coolest thing ever. Everybody's like, save your money for when you're older. Yeah, you might be older and in a better position to buy a Porsche, but you'll never be 19 with a Porsche again. It was really cool. And it was an absolutely surreal experience driving one and being in one. So what really sold me on this car overall was the balance and the handling. Again, I've never driven a Porsche up until this point when I was 19, so being in one and just feeling the overall surreal way this car felt completely sold me instantly. I mean, I couldn't get the smile off my face. And again, I didn't even drive the car. I was being driven around by someone in the car. They thought I was nuts. I was 19 years old telling them, it's like, I just want to drive this car and I didn't know how to drive it, but I want to buy it anyway. And they thought I was absolutely insane at the dealership, but I ended up buying it. And like I said, I had them deliver it to my house. I had this car for a little bit before I started modifying it. I kept it pretty stock for the first few months. Right now, it is sitting on HR lowering springs, but it is going to be on a full different suspension setup from Bilstein. Eventually, we also have a short throw shifter that has to go in the car, but is not in the car with new shifter cables. It does have an aftermarket shift knob, which is Alcantara, but that obviously doesn't change anything for performance. It does have a third heat exchanger air intake thing, so up front, it comes stock with 1 and 2. We swapped out the middle one, so we took that out and put a whole new system in there to cool it down better. And it also is on a full aftermarket exhaust, so it has an aftermarket downpipe, aftermarket catback, which is all from Soul Performance. So as you can see, this is the aftermarket exhaust, so I have the black tips. That's the Soul Performance exhaust. I also put in the GTS taillights. Those are the clear taillights that come stock with the red taillights. I didn't really like it. I like the clear more. I thought it accented well with the chrome and stuff here. So I'm probably going to eventually debadge the car, so I want to take this off, but we'll see. I'm not 100% sure about that yet, but I did do these taillights. Well, I didn't. I had someone do it. I don't do this myself. I have no idea how to do that stuff. But yeah, let's go for a drive real quick. So this is definitely one of the best handling cars I've driven, for this price that is. Generally speaking, of course, 911s and, Ferrari track cars and all that is going to handle better, of course, but those are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can get into one of these for like less than 60 at this point, especially if you're okay with not getting the 2.5 motor, just getting the 2.0, which I've driven those, and those don't drive any worse. I've driven a few GT3s, I have driven GT4 RSs, all that stuff. They drive obviously better than this. I'm not going to take that away from them, but like I said, they're well over 100,000, if not multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. So for a car that handles incredibly well, is still a Porsche, still says Porsche on the on the badge and everything, has a rear-mounted mid-engine, decent trunk space actually because it has a rear trunk and a front trunk. Generally speaking, I would say this is literally one of the best bangs for your buck cars, and it has a lot of really nice curb appeal. I mean, at the end of the day, most people, to them, a Porsche is a Porsche. It has front and back trunk, like I said, so since it has a front trunk and a back trunk, or front and trunk, if you will, it actually is pretty usable for what that's worth. It's not obviously great trunk space, but it is pretty nice. Once you modify this car, it does wake it up quite a bit, which is really nice. Once it's woken up and you get, that turbo noise that this car makes, and I know a lot of people were kind of crapping on the car because it's turbocharged and all Porsches should be flat sixes. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It doesn't take away from how much fun the car is at all. It's so fast, especially once you tune it and everything. Not to say it's not fun when you first drive it, when it's stock. It's not bad to drive at all. It just needs a little more. It should have a little more power from the factory, in my opinion. And it also should have a better sound from factory, in my opinion, which it has neither. Something I should also mention with this car is the mod capability. With it being a turbocharged car, you can build so much power so easily. You really just can't do that on a naturally aspirated engine generally. So when you have a turbocharged car, you can just build a lot more power if you're looking to do something like that. Now onto the bad a little bit with this car. Again, like I said, power in its stock form, it's lacking power. It's definitely lacking power. It needs a little more oomph, a little more soul to actually feel how it should feel as a Porsche, in my opinion. Though it is, one of the more entry-level ones, I think it should have a little more. But if you're okay, again, with modifying it a little bit, then you'll get that, no problem. This may sound a little bit weird, and this is more subjective. It doesn't bother me, but I have heard other people kind of say it. Some people look at this as a less than Porsche because it's not a 911. I've driven 911s. It's its own Porsche in its own right. If you drive a 996, this almost drives closer to a 996 than it does a, modern 911 drives to a 996. Where this is much smaller, it's much more compact. So my argument to that is that this is almost more of a Porsche. There is an argument there. The only other downside you can give this car, which I think you should be expecting if you're getting into a German performance vehicle, is just the cost of maintenance at the end of the day. They're not expensive to maintain, but it's far from cheap. Everything I've done has just costed me a lot of money, even just factory things that need to be fixed. It's been reliable. The only issue I've had with reliability was on my own part because I didn't drive the car for quite a few months. So the battery died and it just needed a lot of love at that point. And, batteries from Porsche are expensive. I'm not one of those that has to keep everything, purest and stock, obviously. That's out the window for me. I have no interest in that at all. So once I finally started modifying the car, it made a huge difference with the car. It sounds how it should have from factory. I think that's one of the big lackluster parts of this car is just the factory sound is absolutely horrible. And it sounds like a vacuum cleaner, where with the aftermarket exhaust, it wakes up the car. With the tune, it wakes up the car. And obviously, it wakes up the sound of the car in the way a Porsche should sound, in my opinion, especially one of these. I'm not talking Macan or Cayenne or Panamera. Those are a little more reserved. But these are 911s, Boxers, whatever the case may be. These should sound a little more aggressive, which this didn't. So once you modify it and don't exhaust on it, it's expensive, it's low costly for one of these good exhausts, but it's 1,000% worth it. I could not stress it enough that if you're going to have one of these cars, you have to modify the exhaust. It makes it sound so much better. So after 4 years, would I buy this car again? Honestly, yes, I would 100%, only if I planned on modifying it. I think the car would get a little boring because it doesn't have that robust flat six sound. After a while, if you just kept it stock and it's kind of quiet, and like I said, it's a little bit boring, not boring, it's a little bit underwhelming to drive sometimes because it doesn't have that loud flat six. If you're going to modify this car, I would 100% buy it over the Boxster or Cayman 981 alternative, which is a generation before with the flat six. I believe it was either a 3.2 or 2.7. I think I could be wrong there, or 3.8, something like that. I'm not sure. If you're going to keep it stock, save the money. Honestly, get a 981. You're going to have a more fun time with just the flat six sounds. If you're going to modify the car, get the 718. I always plan on modifying it, so for me, the fact that you can just build 100 horsepower with 2 modifications is ridiculous. Those 2 modifications being a tune and a downpipe, like anything else with a turbocharger. You can honestly just tune it and it would make the power, and that would cost you like $1,000 if you wanted to, buy the tune and bring it to a shop from, Soul Performance and everything. But if you're gonna modify it, get this. If you're not gonna modify it, get the 981. Save your money. 981, 718 looks very similar. I think these look a little bit better, but it's not enough that I'd justify the extra $10,000-$15,000 that they cost in the used market right now. But ultimately, if you want something that feels special every time you drive it, any Cayman or Boxster, of course 911, any Porsche is going to really give you that feeling. I've driven Cayennes, I've driven Macans, I've driven Panameras. They all drive incredible. Though Macans and Panameras and Cayennes are kind of just Audis at the end of the day, or a Urus, if you will. They all feel incredible. They all give you, that special feeling every time you get in the car, every time you drive the car. Of course, these will. Any of these manual performance ones will feel great. I'm sure the automatics do too. I've driven some 911 turbos. Those feel great. They're missing a little bit of soul, in my opinion. I think these cars should kind of be a stick, but it's all preference on how you like to drive. At the end of the day, this car has been a huge part of my life for 4 years. I don't ever see myself getting rid of it. I do want to thank everyone for checking out my video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment or message me on Instagram, which will be in the bio. Thank you guys for checking out my video, and I will see you guys next time. More content with this car coming soon, by the way.